Hi everybody, Think Differently Thursday again. My name is Helen, part of the Forge Church, and super lovely to have the very glamorous, I have to say, this afternoon, Karen. Karen, you've had your hair cut, haven't you?
I have, Helen.
You've made it to the hairdressers. I am envious. My hair's gone wild today. My hair has hit new sort of uncontrollable stage today. Yours is lovely.
Have you got a haircut in the diary?
It's booked. It is booked for next week, and I'm literally having the works, everything that she could offer. She was saying, do you want highlights, and do you want roots, and do you want a cut? Yes, I want everything.
Of course, of course.
Yours looks lovely, looks really, really nice.
Thank you.
So Karen, this is super lovely. I've known you since the beginning of me working at the Forge. Really, I don't think I particularly knew you before that. Knew your name more than I knew you. So I think that was 2018, do we think?
I think it was.
And one of the very, very many things I love talking to you about is your family. Because you come from an enormous family, don't you? And I love it when you say how big your family is when people don't know, because I love watching the shock
faces.
Yeah. Tell us about your family.
To me, it doesn't seem enormous.
Right.
Obviously, I'm growing up with it. So I'm one of 11 children.
See, people that are listening now are going, 11.
So so my mum and dad had 8 boys. So I had 8 brothers growing up, and I have 2 sisters.
Right. Oh, yes. Amazing. And so what was that like? I mean, I had 2 brothers. You had 8 brothers. And so was that a really big house full, or had some grown up and moved on by the time you were born, or where did you come in that whole 11?
So I'm the baby.
So you must have been spoiled. You must have felt like loads of people brought you up as well, did you?
Absolutely. It was a crazy household.
Right.
If you moved from your seat, you never got it back again.
Did you have to keep moving?
Yeah, definitely. So we lived in what I call a normal 3-bedroomed house.
Wow.
There were 4 boys in one bedroom, 4 boys in another bedroom, 2 girls in another bedroom. And then my mum and dad used one of the downstairs rooms, so like the lounge or the dining room, as their bedroom. And when I came along, I started off in there. And then as people left home, got married, then everyone just sort of like moved
around. So it was quite an advantage to be one of the girls, because you didn't have to share so much.
Absolutely. So I'm not sure that Mary, my sister, would think that, because I had to share with her when I got a bit older. And there's a few years between us, so like been that much in there. So my older sister Jean, she got married when I was 6 months old. So there's pictures of me at her wedding on the top table in my pram. It was a crazy household, but good.
And is it, I suppose you don't know any different, so I was going to say, is it still lovely having loads of siblings, but it's just your normal, I guess. Does it feel nice? Are they all kind of local? Do you see lots of them?
There's a couple have moved away. There's a couple that I don't see really. Sadly, we've lost 3.
Okay.
And there's some that I get on with so well.
Right.
So it is lovely.
Yeah. Nice. And I know that I only knew this really recently. I think it's a relatively recent conversation we had about your dad, because you told me about an accident he had in Hawley, I think. And so your mum, 11 children, and your mum raised a lot of you as a single mum, didn't she? Because you tragically lost your dad when he was quite young. So she did that on her own a lot of the time.
Yeah, she did. I was only 5 when my dad died. Yeah, he had an accident at work. It wasn't his job. He was being helpful,
Okay.
of course. There was an accident, and sadly, a few days in hospital, and he passed away. So yeah, so Mum brought a lot of us up on her own.
Yeah.
But she had some great family and some great friends who lived fairly near to where we lived. And yeah, and like, you know, my older brothers and sisters, yeah, great. They looked after me lots.
Yeah.
So
And
they taught me so much in life, you know.
I bet.
When we moved house, our neighbour thought that my mum had moved in with 4 boys because I was such a tomboy. It wasn't until she actually spoke to us that she realised there were 3 boys and 1 girl. These things happen, don't they?
Yeah. And I guess for your mum as well, I mean, the tragedy of losing your husband so young and also having so many children must have felt overwhelming. But then maybe as well, it was just wonderful to have a big family and have so many people around you and just, yeah, feel supported and loved in that way.
Yeah, definitely.
And I know for a large part of your son's upbringing, you were a single mum as well. And I know it's a conversation that, you know, we've had because we've got a lot of that stuff in common. Do you think that your upbringing and your mum being on her own, do you think that influenced your ability to then cope yourself as a single parent?
Yeah, I think it did in lots and lots of different ways, because I knew it was doable. It was
Yeah.
definitely doable.
Yeah.
But also I knew that I had people around me, similar to my mum having people around her. I had people around me who were very supportive and supported me. And therefore, it may sound strange to some people, but I'm sure you can understand this, Helen, about allowing people to help you and allowing people to help you bring up your children when you are struggling a bit, because as a single parent, you do have struggles.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes I think it's in those sort of really difficult days that I don't know, you almost feel the most loved and supported because, like you're saying, it enables people or it gives people that sort of permission to reach out and help you. And I think mostly people want to do that, don't they? People want to be kind, people want to help.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they do.
So, Karen, tell us about your job at the Forge. Now, you might be somebody that most people do know from the Forge, even if they don't know your face. I think people will know your name or will speak to you because of your role at the Forge. But tell us about it and maybe how you came across it.
Okay, so
What do you do, Karen?
what do I don't know. What do I do, Helen?
I think you do it all.
So as I said to you earlier, this is very outside of my comfort zone being on here. I'm a background person, and so many people don't normally see me, but they will hear from me most definitely. So my title is office manager, which obviously for the last year and a bit has not been quite true, but you know. So how did I come across the job? It was that I'd been to the Forge for a few years. The job that I was in, there were a few issues, and I spoke to Steve, and he said, "Oh, would you like to have a look at this job description?" Okay, so I had a look at the job description, and yeah, 7 years later, here I am. Yeah.
And so day to day, what sort of things is it that you do in your role?
Okay, so I look after what a lot of people would probably think are the boring bits. So I sort out DBS, I sort out a lot of finance things now. So I work quite closely with Neil. who you had on a few weeks ago.
Yes, yes.
And yeah, so I'm looking after all the licensing, things that you need that perhaps nobody else wants to sort out.
Yeah, yeah, you do such a great
Yeah.
job. And I know, like, from my experience of this last year or so and working so much more from home, and I would, when we were in the office, so I'm part-time, and so I would be in and out of the office a bit, and I think that would have been most people's general work pattern, but you would be office based on your work days, wouldn't you? And I know that, you know, for everybody, life has changed so much over this last year, but how have the changes of lockdown impacted work for you?
Yeah, so yeah, it has its good and its bad points. Working from home. I mean, when I first started working from home, I was on the dining room table. After about 3 months of doing dining room working, I was just like, this is, yeah, it's not quite suiting me.
Right.
I like a bit of space. I like to spread out a little bit with my paperwork things. So we then set up a desk so that I could have a desk area.
Yeah.
And that worked well for a while, but then home and work were very blurred.
Yeah.
Blurred indeed. So this is quite a recent move. I'm now in the conservatory.
I like the new setting.
Thank you. And so my desk and all of my things are now in the conservatory. So when it gets to the end of the day, I can shut those doors and see work.
Yeah.
And days when a day off and I have a day a week on furlough, then I'm not tempted to have a little look on my computer and see what I need to do. So it feels a lot better.
And it must have been, it must feel really different for you in that you would have seen most people every week, because we would all be in and out of the office, and you would be the person that was like the constant almost, you know what I mean? You were always there. If ever I came to the office, you were there. So is that hard that you've kind of lost that that human interaction, as have so many people, I know, but is that a hard part of it for you?
Yeah, it is. I'm a people person. I love most people. And so we're, you know, with being at home, I miss all that interaction. I really do miss that. You know, we have Zoom calls each week, but it's not the same, is it?
No.
It's the same. And being in the office, there was always a, oh, Karen, could you just do this? Could you just sort this? What about that? What about this?
Yeah.
And I knew everything when I was in the office. I knew everything because I could hear people. I wasn't really listening, but somehow it sunk in and I would know what's going on.
Yeah.
Whereas here, I don't hear a lot.
Yeah.
No, there, you know, that's, I would say that's the biggest downside for me, is that there's that little bit of, okay, do I know everything that's I need to know? You know, and people are great with communication and that, trying to make sure I know things, but a few things slip through, but bound to happen. Bound to.
And I guess if we were all there and having conversations or meetings, then if something kind of alerted you, you would ask, wouldn't you? Like, oh, I heard you say this. Have you thought about this? Whereas I guess if you're not hearing those conversations, you can't prompt things. And I get that. It must be tricky.
Yeah.
So
but it's handy. It's handy if I've put the washing out and it starts to rain.
Absolutely. I've never stayed so on top of the washing. Yeah, definitely. And are there positive things? Are there things that you've kind of thought you will take forward and always do like this because of changing?
Yeah, there are some of my work practices that I've decided that perhaps they were a bit elongated before.
Okay. Yeah.
Now I've shortened some things down and changed a lot of things. So yeah, I think there will be going forward. There are changes.
Yeah.
So I will continue to do things different ways.
I think there's a lot of efficiency to this, in a sense.
Yeah.
I think there are some downfalls, but I think there are, yeah, for me, it's quite positive that I think a lot of things seem quicker and much more efficient.
Yeah.
And I know when we first, we're talking over a year ago now, aren't we? When we first kind of found ourselves in this position, you were immediately classed as vulnerable and you needed to shield, didn't you? Because, is that right? You were shielding quite quickly? Was it shielding, or were you just having to be really careful? I can't really remember. But I know.
Yeah.
Anyway, tell us why. Tell us why.
Okay.
People won't know this.
So
You.
yeah. So I am a type 1 diabetic, and I have been for 40 years.
Yeah.
And right at the beginning, they gave a list of all the conditions that were clinically vulnerable, and diabetics came within that. As a few weeks went on, they were then working out exactly who needed to shield and who didn't. Now, I came within the group that didn't need to shield,
Right.
but we were told we should be very, very careful. Yes.
Yeah. So it has been. I haven't really known anyone with diabetes, not very closely previously. So it has been interesting getting to know you and kind of gaining a bit of an insight into your life and what actually dealing with diabetes on a day-to-day basis is. And it really governs your day-to-day living, doesn't it? You have to be really careful and plan ahead and really be mindful of meals and things, don't you? It dictates your life a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I try not to let it rule my life.
Yeah.
Certainly means that I have to think a lot more. I think they've worked out, I'm not quite sure how they've worked this out, but they've worked out that I think a type 1 diabetic on insulin makes about an extra 140 decisions a day.
Really?
Which is a fair amount of things to think about. So
is that mainly food related?
Everything related, Helen.
Oh.
So like I have to think about everything I eat, because everything I eat I have to inject against, because my body does not produce any insulin, whereas your body will produce insulin. So every time you eat, it releases insulin, which breaks it down. My body doesn't do that. So I have to work out how many carbohydrates are in everything that I eat. And then I have to work out my ratio of insulin, which are different at different meals, as to how much insulin I have to inject.
Right.
So that's fairly confusing. And then if I'm going to be doing exercise, things like that, I have to make allowances for all of that. So
you can't just suddenly go, oh, let's just go out for a walk. Let's go for a long walk.
No, really? I can't. I say no, I can't. Well, I will, but I just have to make preparations, and I can't literally walk out of my front door without taking my little goodie bag with me.
Right.
I'm always the best person to walk with because I've always got
snacks.
Always take my snacks.
Great. And I know of all the people that I know that have had the vaccination, you are the person for whom it had the most difficult reaction, I think. And I guess it's all connected, isn't it? That your body struggles at times with stuff.
Yeah, my body does struggle at times. And it wasn't a pleasant week after I had my injection.
No.
I think everything on the side effects I had.
Yep.
So, but it was a week. I said to myself, my body is fighting because something strange has gone in.
Yeah.
But it was working well.
Yeah. But, Have you had your second injection yet?
No, not yet.
Oh, no.
I'm having that in May.
Okay.
So, I'll wait and see how it goes. Might be the same as the first one. It might be better, it might be worse. But
we will see.
I keep, it will be fine.
So tell me about life prior to the Forge. Had you been part of a church community always? I mean, is that something that had been important to you? Were you a faith-based family?
No, we weren't. When I grew up, my family did not go to church.
Okay.
When I started high school, one of my friends there invited me to go to, you'll know it well, Helen, FOY, Fellowship
FOY. Which
at a local Baptist church.
Did you see that somebody in the comments, I think it was last Sunday, referred to FOY? And Johnny's so young, he called it FOY, didn't he?
I know. It made me laugh.
We know though, don't we? We're Baptist girls.
Know.
We know.
Oh, yes. So, yeah. So I started to go to FOY. And, you know, it was some weeks I would go, other weeks I wouldn't go. And then when I was diagnosed with type 1, I went into a coma and I was taken to hospital. And the first Sunday after that, when it was the first day that I was allowed out of bed, I remember getting out of bed, walking around my bed and sitting on my chair. And it was a little room on the side they'd put me in.
Right.
And I sat there thinking, oh, I've made it out of bed. And I was only 14 at the time. And all of a sudden the door opened, and in the doorway were about 8 or 9 youngsters and a Sunday school teacher from church that was associated to the FOY, because they'd heard that I'd been taken into hospital and they thought they'd come and cheer me up.
Oh, that's nice.
And it was like, oh my. It was lovely to see them.
Yeah.
Lovely to see them. So that that was great. And it was after I'd gone home from hospital and got myself into a little routine, because obviously I had a lot of things to learn.
Yeah.
And it was my mum, didn't go to church herself, who said to me, I think you ought to go to that church and say thank you.
Right.
So one Sunday I went along to say thank you, and I've been going to church ever since.
Right. Amazing. So that's quite different for your family as well. It wasn't something that you'd grown up with.
Absolutely.
So do you remember a time where you made a real decision for yourself that you wanted to become a Christian, or do you think that that was something that you gradually kind of adopted over time?
There was actually a time.
Okay.
So it was Easter. It was probably about 2 to 3 years after going to say thank you.
Yeah.
And we used to have a little singing group in the on a Sunday, and it was one Easter, and we were up the front singing "There Is a Green Hill Far Away," which is about
Old
the Easter
school
story. Absolutely. And I remember at the time I was singing it, I just felt something go over me, just felt something wash over me. And we finished the song and we went and sat down, and yeah, it was amazing. I had tears rolling down my cheeks, and and that was when I really felt that presence. And so I would say that the Easter was when I became a Christian.
Oh, that's a fab story. And I'd love it if we could say that in becoming a Christian, life was a bed of roses after that. But I know that
would be good, wouldn't it?
And I know life definitely hasn't always been easy for you. And I know before I met you that you'd lost your mum, and you've said this afternoon that you've lost some of your siblings, and I know you were very close to one of your sisters. And we've talked often about the shared experience of divorce, all of which is not easy. Did you find that faith helped during these times that have been tricky for you?
Oh, enormously. I have no idea how I would have coped with any of those events if I didn't have faith. Definitely. When I look back, I know they say don't look back, you should always look forward, but I find it helpful to look back sometimes in a positive way, because I can see that God has placed people around me at those times who are exactly what I need. And like with my divorce, the people that I had around me then were amazing and still amazing. And like with losing my sister was dreadful. But I had met Dean about 9 months before that.
Your husband, we should explain.
Oh,
Dean,
yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I forget. I think I'm just talking to you, Helen. So, so I met Dean, who is now my husband. And yeah, even my sister, when she was really, really poorly, said to me, I am so glad that you have found Dean. So, you know, things happen for a reason, and God puts those situations and he puts people in those situations to help you through. I'm convinced of that.
I think it's sometimes, you know, it's almost the way, because at times I think we can feel that God is absent, but I think what I'm increasingly feeling is that actually often he presents himself and shows himself through other people as well, and their actions, their kindness, their support.
Definitely. I mean, don't get me wrong, during some of those times, it's myself that has moved away from God. He is there, but I have moved away from him because sometimes the situations are really, really difficult. At the same time, I can also see those things I've just said, that there are people who are put there for those reasons, and it's amazing.
Oh, that is so great to hear. What you're looking forward to, Karen, about getting back to church? I kind of feel like it's what we're talking about now. Suddenly it feels like it's kind of nearer and it's really going to happen. What are you looking forward to about when we come back together?
It's just seeing people, isn't it? That's my thing, seeing people. It will be so lovely. You know, I mean, some of it scares me, if you want me to be honest. Some of it does scare me, you know, but at the same time, it will also be amazing. It will be amazing that we can meet together and just worship, and it will be good.
Church is a place as well, isn't it, where we've it's probably true for everybody, where we've got people that we're close to, and so even though we're not meeting together, we're still speaking to people and seeing them like this, or maybe walking and coffees. But there's also a lot of people in church that perhaps we only see then, and we have a degree of relationship with them and we catch up with them, but we probably only see them then. And it's those people I think I'm particularly looking forward to as well. The people that sort of feel like they're a regular part of my life, but I just haven't seen very much. You're such an amazing person to have in church. And I know you work for the church, and so sometimes it gets blurry, but I know that so often you go over and above and you just do so much for other people. We've been really encouraging people recently to really think about how they're going to serve when we come back together. You know, what are the gifts God's given to you, and how are you going to serve? How are you going to be involved? What's your part you're going to play in church? Why do you think that serving is such an important part of the life of the church?
I think it's just great to give back.
Right.
You know, serving is such a good thing to do. You get to meet so many different people that perhaps you wouldn't meet if you weren't serving.
Yeah.
You know, I know that when I first started coming along to the Forge, I didn't want to serve. I wanted to come and be me and just sit and listen for a while.
And I think that's often what people, particularly if they've come from another church as well, you know, just calm and just kind of find your feet and stuff. I think that's quite normal, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Which is, when I came to the Forge, it was because I had come from another church, and I needed time just to sit, be in the congregation. And then after, don't know how long it was, but after a while it was like, I need to start doing things.
I was going to say, knowing you, Karen, I bet it wasn't very long.
I was like, I need to start doing something. So I started to get involved and did things, you know, and you get to meet more people by doing that. And a brilliant way to start good friendships.
Yeah, I so agree. And I also think that it makes you feel like church is really yours, that you're not going to something, but you are something. You're a part of this bigger thing, and you've got a part to play, which everybody has.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think there's a sort of similar principle with small groups as well, isn't there? We're really encouraging people at the minute to sign up and do what we're going to do. We're going to all do the same material. We're going to come together, and, as you know, in build up to being together physically, we're doing groups together. Now, I know over the years you've been part of a lot of groups, you've led a lot of groups. What's the best bit about groups for you? Cake?
Well, it does help, I find. It does help. So, I mean, that'll be a good thing again, won't it? When we're able to meet up in person and do groups.
It'll be a good thing and a bad thing, because we'll all get a bit fatter again.
I'm not sure if that's actually possible, Helen. But, so groups, again, it's a giving back thing. And it's on a similar thing to serving. Because when you're in a group with 8 or so people, you get to know them. And you can then, when you meet on Sundays, like obviously before COVID, when we're meeting on Sundays, you feel so much more part of things. Because you have some people there who you are so close with. And it's like a growing thing, because you, like Dean and I were part of a group, and then after being in that group for a little while, we then became leaders of a group. So, you know, it's a great way to grow in your faith and learn how to move forward and to help other people.
Yeah, definitely.
It's great.
We often change around, don't we? And I just love it that there's so many people that are part of church that I've been part of groups with at different times. I love that connection. And I think I always kind of almost describe groups as like mini church as well, particularly because we're a big church. I think groups let us have that sort of, like you're saying, that more intimate relationship with people, doesn't it?
Yeah, because like when there's so many people in a building, you can't speak to everybody.
No.
You can't get to know everybody in that room. So when you're in a group, you get to know that group. And as you say, if you move groups every now and again, then you get to know lots more people.
Yeah, I love it. So we've talked about what you're looking forward to about church coming back together, but you know, restrictions are being lifted and maybe we're getting back to some sort of normal. If you had to, just in closing, if you had to say 3 things just about life generally that you're really looking forward to, what would the top 3 be?
Yeah, I think it's really going to be getting back to seeing people, friends and family. And when I say seeing them, not just arriving at the same place as them, not hugging them. You know, it will be great to be able to hug, if we can remember how all of that happens, then, you know, that will be great. And yeah, meeting friends and family in a more meaningful way, if that makes sense, that is going to be top of the list, I think. Definitely top of the list.
Yeah.
We've got good friends in Spain and Poland, and we've zoomed them all through COVID. Had some really difficult times where they are, and we're also looking forward to being able to either visit them or them coming to visit us. So that too is going to be a great thing. Definitely.
Yeah, lovely.
Definitely.
Good things to be looking forward to.
Yeah.
We've sort of...
And we also had a new grandchild during...
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's now 8 months old. So it will be going to see him and having a cuddle. We have managed 2 cuddles.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And when you think what that would normally have been under normal circumstances,
exactly.
it's so much to look forward to. Karen, I miss our chats. We do manage to do a bit of Zoom lunching, don't we, every so often?
We do. And then go, oh, look at the time.
But it's so lovely to chat to you. And I think really great as well for people in church to just kind of find out a little bit more about you. So I know this isn't your favourite thing to do, but I'm so grateful that you've given me some time and done it this afternoon. Thank you.
More than welcome, Helen. More than welcome.
Thank you. And like you, looking forward to meeting up properly again very, very soon. But have a great rest of the day, and see you soon, Karen. Thank you.
You too. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.